Welcome to the Vertical Go-to-Market Podcast, where you'll discover new opportunities to grow your business from 7 figures to 8 from the world's most successful agency and B2B SaaS executives. I'm your host. Today, I'm joined by Mike Perez. What's up, Mike?
Hey, Corey. How you doing?
Good, buddy. Thanks so much for coming on the show. I'm super excited for our conversation. You and I used to kind of compete against each other a little bit when I was at Scorpion. You're at competing a very high level digital marketing agency targeting attorneys called iLawyerMarketing. So I've been just looking forward to this conversation. I'm looking forward to hearing your journey and all the lessons you learned along the way. But for the listening audience, would you mind just introducing yourself and the work you do?
Sure. Yeah. So my name is Mike Perez. I've started this company in 2005. So it's been a very long time. The vertical that we specialize in is in legal. And so originally when I started my company, I always knew I wanted to verticalize just because that's the best way to grow a business in my opinion. So originally the plan was to do legal, to do health, and to do cosmetic industry, plastic surgeons, that kind of a thing. We've always been so busy on the legal side that I never got to those other parts. And so we've been incredibly busy. So I've kind of stayed focused on legal the whole time. Although we may expand into health this coming year. We've started to build the blocks for that.
Ooh, that's exciting. I want to dig into that. What could you share about the size of iLawyerMarketing, just for context, like the number of employees, number of clients, revenue, whatever you're comfortable sharing?
So I'd have to talk to HR to find out the exact number, but we're in the 60s in terms of employee size, in terms of W-2 employees. We probably have another 35, 40 that are 1099s, whether that is other legal consultants in the industry that just refer business our way, or content writers and different kind of things like that. Few overflow for development, but almost everything we do, we try to keep in-house just to maintain quality of the work that we do. In terms of revenue, last year, we did about 16.7 million in revenue. This year, we should finish around 18 and a half.
Beautiful.
In revenue. So yeah.
That's fantastic. And tell me about your role there as president.
Yep. So my role has been, ever since day one, I was the president, CEO, whatever it is, with the company. I've always had a very active role. For me, I started out as an SEO person, and when I started the company, it was me by myself, just doing SEO on the client sites. And then as we grew, as I got too busy, couldn't handle it all myself, I started to hire other people. But I've always been, because of that, those roots in SEO, I've always been very active in the SEO department here and the strategies that we use, and as well as building software that we are, proprietary SEO software that we use here at the agency.
And you guys, your firm, iLawyerMarketing, was recently acquired by Everservice. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. So it was probably about a little bit over a year in terms of when I first signed a letter of intent to when I actually sold. I wanted to make sure that everything was a fit in terms of their company and our company. They were a great fit just because they weren't coming in trying to change a lot about what we were doing. They liked what we were doing. They liked that we're recognized as the strongest SEO company in the legal industry, and so they wanted to maintain that. And they're not trying to come in and change our company culture. Company culture is huge for us here. It's what helps us keep our employees. For some of them multiple that have been here for 10, some of them 15 years.
Sure.
So for me, that was a big important part of the process. And then due diligence as well is a beast. So when you have any kind of acquisition where you have an 8-figure price on that acquisition, there's going to be some serious due diligence along the way. So yeah, there was quite a bit over that process. It took a long time, but on both sides, it's good for you as well as if you're an agency looking to sell, that you do your own due diligence on those people that are trying to acquire you. And I did a lot of that on Everservice, talked to other companies they had acquired. I talked to Ben, who I think you had on your show before.
Blue Corona, yeah.
Blue Corona. I mean, he told me the experience was great from the very beginning, that Everservice had always kind of kept their promises of what they were going to do, right? They have a mentality of, let's not do any harm, right? For everything that's working, let's keep that running as is. And then if we can improve certain processes along the way, then we'll do that. But yeah.
That's great. Well, I do want to circle back to that. There's a lot there, I think, for our listeners. especially those aspiring to be bought one day to kind of unpack. But let's start at the beginning. Let's, what's the origin? What were you doing prior to launching iLawyerMarketing? What led you to, you know, casting out in this venture?
Sure. Yeah. So I started out before I started this company, I was working for FindLaw, which is, another big player in the space, right? There's FindLaw and there's Scorpion that are the two behemoths in the space. And before Scorpion became the behemoth with
Yeah.
your help, right,
Yeah.
as leading them to grow like they did,
Mm.
there was FindLaw, and that was the big player. And so that's where I was at for about a year and a half. I did very well. Ended up being the number 2 rep in the nation in my first full year there. But I decided to leave. The reason was I had sold a lot, but FindLaw was not doing a very good job on the SEO side of things. So I had a lot of unhappy clients. So my day was filled with doing my job at FindLaw, and eventually I started doing my own SEO on all my clients' websites. And even before then, I had started to get into SEO even before I started the company, kind of before SEO was even a thing, really. This was, in the late 90s when I first kind of dipped my toes with internet marketing. But at FindLaw, that's kind of where I cut my teeth. I started doing that and started optimizing my client sites, getting them up there in the search engines. And then after a while, I said, I do this better than the company I'm working for.
Yeah.
Why am I working for them? And I ended up starting.
So let me just ask clarifying questions. So you were helping to bring on new clients into FindLaw, and part of the package, the product they were buying was an SEO service for their website, I'm assuming, but they weren't working well. So you took it upon yourself to kind of just go in and help them out like directly, in addition to what the work that FindLaw was doing. Is that
Yeah, I mean, I actually felt really guilty about selling these things to my clients, and then so many of them were upset. That didn't sit well with me, so I started, working these very long days. They were 12 to 14-hour days, but I enjoyed what I was doing because I was learning, how to optimize these law firm websites, and at the end of the day, that made me feel really good that I was able to get them moved up the rankings, and for them helping them to get new leads and sign cases.
What caused you to realize that, hey, I could just do this for myself, independent of working for someone else?
Well, when a lot of the sales reps at FindLaw and even their SEO team started calling me with questions, I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of crazy that I'm answering SEO questions for the SEO team here, and other sales reps in the around the country would call me. And so at that point I said, all right, it's time to leave. And I was making, really good money at that time. And a lot of people said, hey, you're crazy. Why are you doing this? You're making great money. Just stay here. And I said, no, I just don't feel right about it. I'm making great money, but there's a lot of unhappy people. And so in the end, I left. And it took a while to replace that income, but obviously it was the right decision.
How did you get started? Like, what were the first things you did to kind of get the revenue going, get the business off the ground?
I just started calling on other law firms here in the San Diego area. This is where I'm based on. I didn't want to deal with non-compete issues in FindLaw, so I wasn't trying to take my clients or anything like that. Sure. I just started calling on brand new firms that I had never dealt with, because I was in a territory, and obviously when I went out on my own, there is no territory. I can call on any firm in the country. So,
And you mentioned a couple minutes ago that the best way to grow an agency, or something to the effect of that, is by taking a vertical approach. Why was that clear to you at that time?
I mean, if you want great Italian food, you're not going to go to Hometown Buffet or anything like that, right? You're not going to go to a buffet. I mean, if you don't want food poisoning, you probably don't go to Hometown Buffet. But if you want really good Italian food, you're going to go to a place that specializes in Italian food, right? That's making, handmade pasta. You're going to have the best experience there. And I think the same holds true for anybody that's looking for a marketing company. They want somebody that specializes in one specific area. It's a lot easier to sell yourself, to get new clients, if you're verticalized and specialized in that one specific area. So that made a lot of sense to me, and that's why I did that early on.
So, it's obvious that one of the reasons why you chose legal is because you were already building direct relationships with law firms and attorneys in the legal space. You had already kind of got your feet wet with regard to SEO on law firm websites. So that was kind of the natural progression, it sounds like.
Yeah, that's right. And even before then, before I started working for FindLaw, I was working in the litigation support industry. So I had experience with working with law firms already. Originally, I thought I wanted to graduate college and then go and be a lawyer. I went into the litigation support industry, where all the friends and clients that I made out of that said, don't do it. Right? The amount of debt that I have is not worth it, right?
Yeah.
These guys are working 60, 70, some of them 80-hour weeks to try to work their way up to partner. And so they kind of scared me out of that plan to go to law
Me
school.
too, by
And
the way. I had
yeah,
that, I took LSAT, I was on the road, and then I heard that story enough times to realize this was not what I wanted to do.
yeah. So thankfully we had people that talked us out of,
Yes.
making a
Yeah.
decision like that.
That's so funny. And then as you were getting going, you were calling these attorneys. Were you only accepting business from attorneys, or as word got out that, hey, Mike is hanging a shingle and he's an amazing SEO guy? Did you end up taking a lot of business that was outside the attorneys, or were you pretty? If you have your hands full with just attorneys?
I did originally. I did start to take some other areas or some other business areas, but it's just harder when you're not verticalized or specialized in one area. It's harder. There's more things to learn, right? From a business perspective, if you can specialize in that one area, it's also easier to recreate replicatable processes. The directories you need to be in, the websites you need to be in, a lot of things about that business. And if you're doing a little bit of everything, that bit buffet approach, it's harder to really specialize and to get good, I think, at one area. So eventually I stopped taking stuff outside of legal.
Sure. And so as you were getting going, how did you attract new law firms or attorneys to come over to? And by that time, was it iLawyerMarketing? Was that the name from the start, or did that evolve?
It was. So I originally, the company was called High Rank Websites Incorporated.
Oh,
And then the year later, I filed a DBA of iLawyerMarketing.
okay.
So
Yeah.
iLawyer wasn't the very first company, but then I wanted to, again, specialize in vertical, have that appearance of specializing. So I created iLawyerMarketing.
And so as you were getting going, how did you, beyond, it sounds like you were reaching out directly. Were there anything else that you were doing that contributed to your client growth?
I specifically asked for from my clients that, if they could give me referrals, right? And so I did great work for them. So there was actually a lot of referrals that came my way. And then over the course of time, the more and more clients we had, I always put my logo at the bottom of that website, just so people could see, okay, this site is ranking. Clearly, they've been able to get this site ranking. Let's call these guys. So that's kind of worked over the course of time. And then outside of that, once you get to a point where you get too busy and you can't do it all yourself. So at some point, I had to hire a sales rep to handle all that kind of sales generation activities.
I'm curious about that. So a lot of agency founders find themselves in a situation where there's like this concept of founder-led sales, where they're responsible for finding and closing all the deals. At a certain point, if they want to grow bigger, they have to do something else. And so what was happening at the agency when you realized that you needed to bring in a salesperson? And then what'd you do how did you bring them in, and what happened?
So the first rep that I had is a friend of mine. I worked with him at FindLaw. He ended up leaving FindLaw, and then I eventually convinced him to come and work for me. He left for a lot of the reasons why I started my own company, which is that he had a lot of clients that were unhappy, right? A lot of people complaining. And so eventually he saw the work that we were doing here at High Rank Websites. And that was before iLawyerMarketing. And then he came on board, and we just started doing great. And then eventually we ended up hiring another rep a few years later, because at the end of the day, you cannot be a founder and do everything. At the end, you do have to find other people that can take those activities off your hands. You can only do so much. For me, I was heavily focused on the SEO side, the strategy. And so I needed somebody else to handle other aspects of growing the business. So that's why I hired and did that.
It seems like it was pretty seamless. I think, well, I'll ask the question, was it due to the fact in bringing on this new salesperson, the fact that he had a direct experience in selling to the same audience, right? He'd been selling a similar product to the same audience. And so he didn't have a big learning curve coming over, right?
Yeah, that makes a big difference, because there is certainly a learning curve when you are selling, number one, to the legal industry as a whole, and then number two, when you're selling an intangible product like SEO, right? You're not giving something that you're going to put in somebody's hands. You're saying, hey, invest in SEO. I know you're not getting anything. You don't know everything that we're doing every month, but trust us, right? So that's a hard thing to sell,
Yeah.
and it's a hard thing to learn how to sell. So it takes time. So that definitely made the process easier, that he was familiar with the industry and the specific product that we were selling.
Just for reference, this year, you're hopefully going to bring in 18.5 million. What is the sales team? What's the structure of the sales team today? What does that look like?
Right now, there is only 2 sales reps.
Mhm.
So we've built it over all these years with just 2 direct sales reps, but we've also created relationships in the industry, right? Even you guys were our competitors, Scorpion, but we kind of had this friendly competition going. Reps from Scorpion would refer business our way at times, right? And there were times where we couldn't take a client. We'd say, "Hey, if you want this and this, you should call Scorpion." So I think that was an important thing, is that we built those good relationships to the point where we could, if we couldn't handle something, we'd send it out to somebody else, and then we'd have other even competitors sending things our way.
Sure.
And in addition to that, we built relationships with other legal marketing consultants in the industry.
Yeah.
People that had worked at FindLaws and other companies and left and gone on their own, and just wanted somewhere to be able to refer. But you don't want to just refer just to make commission, right? You want to at least refer, and your reputation's on the line when you're making a referral.
So important.
I think people feel much more comfortable when they refer something our way, because they're confident that we're going to do a good job for that firm.
That makes me think about this concept of non-competes and saturating markets, and certainly attorneys, not all of them, but some of them are concerned about this. How did you approach that as an agency owner, this concept of non-compete?
Yeah. So, and by non-compete, do you mean like working with multiple firms in the same market?
Correct. So if you're only focusing on attorneys,
Yeah.
then you're potentially limiting your ability to sell into a specific city.
Yeah. So we have what we look at as a limited exclusive. We're not exclusive to one firm, but we will work, depending on the size of the market, between 3 firms and potentially up to 5 firms in a certain market. But at the end of the day, we can only do so much for that firm. We'll get you ranking, we'll get you that visibility, but it's that firm's job to be able to convert those visitors when they come to the site. Because the average consumer, and we've done a lot of studies on this that I've conducted myself, where I do consumer research studies every single year. And one of those studies is looking at consumers when they're looking for an attorney. How many websites are you going to visit? How many law firms are you going to consider before you actually pick up the phone and make that call? And for most people, it's right around 5, right? 5's that number where they're going to look at multiple sites and then eventually decide on which one to call. So just because we have one client or multiple clients in an area, that doesn't mean that we're playing any kind of favoritism. And in fact, the way that we deal with it internally is we have different SEO people on those different clients.
Smart.
And here we pay them bonuses for getting their clients to the top, right? So they all want to earn that additional bonus money. So our team here is highly incentivized in making sure that they do everything they can to get our clients ranking, in the market that we're working in.
Is your sales team, either prior to now or now, are they doing much outreach, or is it mostly you guys are fielding inbounds, or how does that look?
It is the majority of inbound, but one thing that I do know, for us to grow, which we need to do, we need to start doing outbound. So literally, I don't count him just yet because he literally was just hired this last week, but we have a new, hunter, that's going to be just doing primarily all outbound, right? You got to have that outbound activity if you want to move the needle when it comes to revenue. So that is kind of the number one thing that I'm doing, is I'm looking to hire other sales reps so that we can grow our sales, and then look for reps that are not just dealing with inbound, but actually are doing outbound.
Great. Hey, it's Corey. Almost every day, I talk with agency owners who are frustrated with getting their outbound program off the ground. The truth is, too many agencies are too dependent on inbounds and referrals to grow their business. We all know that it's getting harder and harder to generate inbounds, and that it's just not a sustainable way to grow your business. I'd like to give you the 6 secrets for driving consistent ROI from your outbound that I learned as Scorpion's Chief Marketing Officer, where we doubled the business from 20 million to 40 million just by adding outbound to an existing inbound only program. It's a free 6-day email course that will transform your outbound from broken to consistently driving new sales opportunities. You could sign up and get the first secret right now by going to getoutboundroi.com. That's getoutboundroi.com. Now, back to the show. I love that. How have you been able to drive the volume of inbounds that you are doing today? Like what led to this?
It's a combination of things. One is SEO, just optimizing for certain search terms that law firms are when they're looking for a marketing company out there. But I think the number one way is by getting our clients ranking. And so if you look in any market, a lot of the bigger markets, you'll see, iLawyerMarketing on those sites that are ranking in some of those big markets. So that's how we get a lot of the, inbound leads, is by people seeing the work that we've done on other law firms. Hey, you got this site number one in Los Angeles for personal injury, so I know you guys are capable of this. Can you guys give me a quote? Right. So I think that's the number one way that we've done it. We've also started to get step up on paid, and I continue. That's my plan, is to be a little bit more aggressive on paid, and then other outbound activities. One of our reps right now will send edible arrangements to firms, right? Some kind of obligator, something that's going to help you stand out in the crowd, but that's going to help set appointments in terms of that, that outbound activity. So those are our plans and our, the way that we're going to grow the business, because we're not going to do it just by keeping static. We'll continue growing. We grow every single year. And in fact, our revenues have grown every single year since I started the company, even in 2008, in recession, which is the beauty of this industry, is it's virtually recession proof. Even in a bad time, you can still grow the business. So, that's a streak that I'm very proud of.
That's awesome. That's really remarkable, actually. When it comes to the vertical of attorneys and law firms, do you attend legal conferences? Is that part of your marketing plan?
It's not something that's ever been very big for us. We will go to MTMP usually once or twice a year. I think occasionally we've done the occasional Trial Lawyers Association, but that's probably something else that we're going to look at. All right, what other conferences can we go that can potentially be good for driving an additional inbounds and referrals? So that is a strategy that we're probably going to continue stepping up on.
What about associations, like different vertical or practice area associations? Have you gotten directly involved, indirectly involved?
Have not, but probably something that we need to do.
Okay, great. I'm always curious about that. Some agencies love the conferences and like are gung ho, and other ones are like, they're there, but I don't go.
Yeah, I just find that, they're good, but I find that there's different ways to spend money that I think are going to get a better return than the spend, when we go there. Because we're going to spend usually 30 or 40K, when we go to an MTMP or something like that.
It's easy to drop that kind of money at those conferences.
Very easy, especially in Vegas, right? Where things can get very, very pricey. But yeah, that's probably the one that we'll continue, at least for the time being, doing.
How important is word of mouth to the work that you do within the vertical that you target?
I mean, I think it's very important. Number one, that is a great potential way for you to get referrals from existing clients, right? That word of mouth. Hey, we worked with iLawyerMarketing. They've done a phenomenal job. We worked with other agents before, and they were not able to do what these guys have been able to do. You should call iLawyer. That's huge, right? There's no better quality lead than getting a referral from an attorney that had a great experience with one of our clients. So I'd say it's pretty big.
And does a certain percentage of your business come directly through word of mouth? Is that a significant amount of business, or is it kind of a small rounding error?
Maybe it's 15, 20% maximum. I think, most of it, I'd say the predominant way that people are finding us is on other websites that we've optimized. So
that's awesome.
And then other consultants in the industry that know about iLawyerMarketing and will send business our way. And we pay them a commission on that for the business that they send us as a thank you. But that I think is another important way for us to grow.
From where you sit in the agency and as you've grown it over these years, how important is it for you to hire folks with a legal background and by the different types of roles?
For us, the only time where that has been important, in my opinion, is for the content writers. The fact that they've been doing legal content writing is a pretty big thing, because if you get people that don't have that experience, there's sometimes a long learning curve into knowing how to write for these websites. In terms of SEO people, that's not really important. I think at least with paid, it's important that they have experience doing paid search for legal, but certainly our biggest department is SEO, and a lot of them don't have any of that experience. But I actually don't mind that, because a lot of SEOs have bad habits, right? Things that they've learned from other agencies then I know are not going to be something that we will do here. So
Mhm.
I don't mind not having people with that background and doing legal SEO, for example, because they're going to learn the right way to do it from our team and from our training
Nice.
processes.
You want them still a little green, not set in their ways.
Exactly.
Have you experimented or do you currently productize your service? Do you have like fixed set services that are kind of fixed in stone, or are you more of a kind of a customized sort of shop and how you provide your services?
Yeah, we try to customize everything that we do.
Yeah.
Every law firm is different, right? Some law firms, they want serious injury cases only. Other ones want, small soft tissue injuries, minor car accidents, just to help the revenue stream of the firm. So we try to customize everything we can to fit our clients' needs. Now, there are some products that we have for clients that don't have a big budget and are not able to compete
Mhm.
in the bigger markets. We do have some, preset solutions that are a great choice for them if they don't have the money to spend to do SEO, because SEO is not one of those things where you can say, okay, I'm going to use 20% of what the budget should be, and just here's $1,000 or $2,000, go do SEO. You're not going to have anything that works with that kind of strategy. So I think you have to be smarter about it with firms that don't have a big enough budget. You can make solutions that work, but for the most part, you're going to get the best result if you're customizing a solution that meets whatever that your client is needing.
Sure. So, in other words, for maybe the folks who are still growing their law firm, they can't yet afford the fully bespoke solution. You'll have a sort of I call productized approach for them that's going to really help them at where they're at.
That's right. Yeah. So for those, we have something called our SEO foundation package. That's
Okay.
kind of the minimum level of SEO for the people that don't have big budgets. We try to push them into this because that foundation package is going to be better than what 95% of other SEO companies or so-called SEO companies are offering. A lot of times those cheap solutions are just going to get that law firm website in trouble, right? They're going to be
Hmm.
producing just content that's just complete chat GPT copy and paste, or they're going to be
Yeah.
doing these pre-bought link packages. Like, it's not real SEO. It's the kind of SEO that is going to get a law firm website in trouble, and it's not worth it. If you can't afford to do it the right way, then you shouldn't be doing it at all. Otherwise, you're just going to do damage.
So, stepping back now a little bit, looking at this vertical approach, what would you say overall? And you mentioned this a little bit already, so if this is, forgive me if this is a little bit redundant, but what are the positive aspects to verticalizing your agency?
I mean, number one is that you have that appearance of being a specialist in that one area. And I think that is hands down, it's going to be the easiest way to convince somebody to choose your business, right? You still need to have that proof of concept. You still need to have these case results that show that you've been able to do this successfully for other firms. But when you specialize, people are going to choose a specialist over a generalist almost every single time. So that's kind of, I think, the biggest and most logical win to verticalizing.
What are the negatives?
Negatives is that you do limit the potential for business, right? There's so much business that we've turned down over the years from other areas. Hey, like, even from other firms that we work with saying, hey, I have my brother, he has this business. Can you do SEO for them? Or I have this restaurant that I have. Can you do SEO for this restaurant? Right. So you will lose out on potential sales and revenue opportunities, but in the end, it's for the best.
Was there ever a time when during this process since 2005 where you realized, or maybe didn't realize, but maybe was there ever a time in the lifespan of your business that you said to yourself, yeah, this verticalizing thing just isn't working?
No, never. Never. I mean,
Yeah.
if there is, I think the one people get a little apprehensive about verticalizing because they think about that. Oh, I'm limited in the kind of business that I can get, right?
Yep.
But look at what we've done, right? We've done it with two sales reps. We've never had a giant sales force. And we've done some pretty great revenue numbers for our size. And that's all verticalizing. And again, I never even expanded to those other areas that I planned on doing. This business, there's still plenty of opportunity in the legal vertical. We'll do, like I said, 18.5 this year. We'll do over 20 next year.
Mhm.
So I think that's, the one thing that people get a little afraid of is that they're going to lose out on business. But at the same time, that has also worked in our favor. And that's why so many private equity companies and other investors have approached us over the years, is because we have that specialization in legal. So
What could you share to maybe the agency owners who are thinking about becoming acquired? That would be something that they would look forward to when thinking about that process. And as well as if you want to share anything about the process so that they could hear that, that would be super helpful, I think.
yeah, I mean, the number one tip I'm going to say is get your books in order, right? Because it is like, proctology exam combined with the IRS, right? Like they are going to be looking
Ouch.
at everything, and there's probably hundreds of reports that I uploaded during the due diligence process. It's just part of the process. But if your books are not in order, you're going to eventually, end up getting less for your business because of that problem. So not only that, but that's another one of those areas where you don't want to be wasting any time. You want to make sure it's done right. So hire the right people so that you are set up that way, so that when it comes time where you are going to sell your business, that your books are in complete order. Because again, they will be, analyzing those, to the death.
What are the top 3 things they're looking for?
I'd say repeatable revenue, right? Recurring revenue that they can rely on. And so, when they're going through this process, they want to know, okay, what is your revenue going to be this month? What is it going to be next month? What is it going to be for the year? They want that nailed down very specifically. So I think that's the number one thing, is that they want to invest in something where they're not worried that they are going to, invest in something that then just totally tanks. So I think that's probably the number one thing, is to make sure you have reliable revenue. It's hard, and that's why I like the recurring revenue that SEO provides. If you're selling everything, from the very beginning, where you're always having to sell a brand new product every month, that's hard to have that consistent revenue. So
Yeah.
I think that's number one. Number two, they're going to look at your team as a whole, right? I didn't build this company by myself. I have a lot of great people that were part of this process. And so you have to have a great team behind you. If I died, would the business be able to continue operating like it is? And the answer is yes. We are so organized. We have our processes in place. And as you get bigger, that's one of the challenges of getting bigger is being able to scale, right? When you have 10 clients, no big deal, right? But if you go to 50 clients, 75 clients, 100 clients, how do you repeat and keep and maintain that quality of what you do? And I think a lot of that is by creating those processes. So that's going to be another thing that they're going to be looking at, is the processes that you have in place.
Got my gardener out in front. Good timing.
That seems to happen to me every time I'm on a Zoom lately. Is someone outside has got
A leaf blower. Great.
Yeah, exactly. Leaf blower fired up right in the middle.
He's gonna come back across and he'll be gone. But AI. So AI, generative AI. This is certainly fast evolving innovation. How has it impacted your agency, if at all?
Well, a big part of my time is spent on software development. I'm not writing the code, but I'm thinking of all the things that build the software that we use. So I've had my eye on AI for quite a while now. And I started, maybe it was about three or 4 years ago, that I started first experimenting with GPT, right? So that, I think it was GPT-2 that I first started. And the progress that it's made over the years, like GPT-4 right now compared to what GPT was, it's light years. So it's something that I think, as any business owner, should be keeping an eye on. How is AI going to impact my business? So we're using some of that in the software that we build to try to increase efficiency. But at the same time, I'm also keeping an eye on how it's impacting the landscape of search engine optimization as a whole. Is that a lot of people were talking about, Bard and, and different Google AI tools that are how is that going to change, search results? How is that going to, at least in my business, how is that going to impact the law firms that are advertising? And in my experience so far, I don't think it's going to have a big impact. I did a study back in April, and I think it was about over 500 people in the study. And I asked them, what are the different technologies that you would use to do research on lawyers? Obviously, Google was 90%. It always, has maintained, somewhere in that 90% neighborhood. But ChatGPT, I think only 10% of people said they would even consider using ChatGPT. And then even since that was kind of when ChatGPT was hot, it's kind of cooled off since then. But it's something that we definitely have to pay attention to because it's going to change so many things about all areas of business.
Indeed. It's exciting, if nothing else. You mentioned now that you're growing rapidly, that you're looking for more folks. What roles are you hiring for right now?
Oh, geez, literally everything. So we're looking for account managers,
Okay.
project managers, sales reps, with hopefully a specialty or a specialist experience with the legal vertical. But we're just growing as a company. And so we need to make sure that we keep up with our hiring practices. I want to make sure that I never get to a point where we have too many clients and we're not able to meet those needs. I'd rather build it because we're continuing to build it like we always do, but I want to have the bodies in place, trained up so that when we do have, those clients brought in, that they're right from day one, they're working with somebody who is going to, make a difference in their business.
Great. I love that. And just so any listeners, maybe sales reps or account folks who may be interested in this, definitely reach out to Mike. Where would people reach out to you or your team with regard to potential openings?
They can go on iLawyerMarketing and contact us there. We have another company within the company called 1.21 Interactive. That is our, original agency. So, we are a little bit complex, but I started out with high rank websites. That transitioned to 1.21 Interactive. I've maintained that agency.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. That's where most of our people apply and is go on 1.21 Interactive and apply there. But I think we also have ads running on LinkedIn right now where they can also apply.
Beautiful. Last question, Mike. What's your motivation?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. As a company, my motivation is to make this the best legal marketing agency in the industry. That's part of the reason why I decided to sell to Everservice, is because they do have different things that are going to help us become better, and it just made a lot of sense. So my motivation, at least from a business perspective, is to be as good as we possibly can be. I'm incredibly competitive, and that relates to everything that we do. I want to be the best at what we do, and everything that we do. From outside of business, I mean, my friends, family, God, those are the things that are my priorities and that I focus on, and that's what motivates me.
Beautiful. Mike, where can people reach out to you if they have a follow-up question about maybe some of the things we discussed today?
I am not very active on it, but I am on Twitter at HighRank, and then they can always email me, Mike at iLawyerMarketing.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining, Mike. It's been a great conversation.
Thanks, Corey. Thanks for having me.
All right, folks, that's it for today. I'm Corey Quinn, and I hope you join me again next time for the Vertical Go-to-Market podcast. If you receive value from this show, I would love a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Thanks, and we'll see you soon.